Guys, it's Samuel, but some people like to call me Sam. Not unlike the new game Resident Evil Village, which the developers have insisted is not called Resident Evil 8, but it has 8 in the title. The VILL is made out to look like Roman numerals for 8. And we all know this is RE8. Yes, the next entry in the mainline Resident Evil series, Resident Evil Village, is finally out. And we're not going to be giving you our full review today. That will be later. That's going to be a very spoilery review. But today I'm coming to tell you my initial impressions on the game, spoiler-free. And I will go ahead and get this out of the way. I have not beat the game yet, but I am very close to the end. And so look out next week sometime for our full review. But in the meantime, oh man, there's so much to talk about. This game, yeah, if you can't tell from my tone, it's amazing. I'm absolutely having a blast with it. So, Resident Evil Village is the newest game in the Resident Evil series. It kind of picks up where the story of Resident Evil Biohazard, also known as Resident Evil 7, left off. It stars Ethan Winters, the same protagonist from that game, and it also features Chris, who was briefly featured at the end of Resident Evil 7, so that's a little bit of a spoiler, but not too bad. And it also stars some of the other characters from that game that were introduced, such as Mia, the wife of Ethan. The game begins a couple of years later, picking up where the other game left off, with Ethan kind of struggling with a little bit of depression from all of the crazy trauma that he witnessed in RE7. Well, unfortunately for him, and fortunately for us, the trauma's not over. Disaster strikes once again. And I won't spoil it, like I said, but Ethan is left to fend off a new swarm of monsters and crazy people and all kinds of insane events. Oh man. Story is really good so far. Of course, like, I haven't finished it yet, so I'm sure there are some mind-blowing revelations at the end that I have yet to experience, but so far I've been really engaged, and unless the ending absolutely blows it, I think the story was fine enough. It was not cheesy like some of the previous ones. It felt pretty intense and pretty easy to follow, but also like lots of mystery. I'd say similar to the story of 7. It's very well done. And it actually feels a little less cheesy than 7. 7 had a little bit of cheese in it, but this one feels pretty grounded. Well, I say grounded, but there are all kinds of like mystical things going on that definitely wouldn't be possible, but you start to slowly realize that maybe all that mysticism is not as it seems. Maybe there is a reasonable explanation for some of these things. So it's really good. It's pretty much your classic Resident Evil type story, but with a little less cheese than the older ones. And no zombies in this one that I know of. Maybe there's one at the end, I don't know. But gameplay, let's talk about that. If you played RE7, you are in for a pretty similar experience. Gameplay is going to be in first person. You're going to be shooting, you're going to be stabbing, you're going to be running, and you're going to be hoping there's something behind you that's not as close as you think it is, because you can't see. It's not third person, so if there's somebody chasing you, which there frequently will be, you're like, I hope they're not close to me. Plus, all of the craziness that you experience, all the visceral and up-close action is going to be even closer up, because you're witnessing it through the eyes of Ethan. It's very cool. Some of the gameplay is a little bit different this time. There's a shopping system very similar to RE4, and inventory management very similar to RE4, and village setting very similar to RE4. Are you getting the feeling that there are a lot of RE4 vibes? Well, there are. It's a very similar experience. You're going to be playing inventory Tetris, collecting treasure, selling it off to the merchant, buying new accessories for your weapons, buying crafting items, crafting things, selling them. It's honestly just such a blast. There's a lot more inventory management and menu digging to do in this game, but you're never bogged down in menus too much. However, going in between the menu and story section, there's a nice new entry, Ethan's journal. And as story beats go by, you will unlock new entries in Ethan's journal, and he kind of reveals some of his personal thoughts on what's going on, and I thought that was a great addition. One complaint about RE7 was that Ethan didn't say much, and it was kind of hard to get to know him considering you never even see his face. But thanks to the journal, you get to kind of get an idea of what Ethan is thinking. And I think that added a lot to his character. It made me feel really invested in being Ethan. The game is also pretty lengthy. For a Resident Evil game, you know. It's actually a decent campaign. I'm already at 8 hours in, and I haven't even seen the ending yet. I played through RE7 in about 7 hours, so, whoa, look at that. 7 hours for RE7, 8 hours for RE8. Now, I think it's probably going to end up being about 9 hours when I get to the end, because I'm pretty close, I think. But yeah, that's a pretty decent length for a game like this, one that you'll definitely want to replay over and over if you plan on platinuming it, as well as getting all of the endgame goodies. And speaking of endgame goodies, there is a heck of a lot of backtracking to be done if you want. There's actually quite a bit of optional backtracking where you can unlock great new weapons. There's all kind of incentive to hold on to items for a long time because they might come in handy later on for a puzzle that you don't have to do to beat the game. It's added a lot of time to the runtime. I've been going back and looking for absolutely every single secret in the game, trying to fill out the entire map and find every single item. And if you do that, you're going to end up actually swamped in items. The good thing is, unlike some of the previous games, thanks to your expanded inventory, you won't be having to go back and forth between item boxes. In fact, there are no item boxes in the entire game. You'll pretty much be able to fit everything in your inventory, and you can sell things off and then purchase them back later if you feel like dropping some room in your inventory. It's a great system, and it's really, really handy. And since the inventory is expanded and there's a lot more room for moving things around, time freezes when you open up the menus. That was not the case in RE7. The time would continue, it was really scary, and I'm kind of glad they changed it because I did not like the stress of having to deal with menus while people were chasing me. It's nice to be able to just pause and take a moment. Now, you can't reload your guns from within the menus, so it's not like you're going to be able to cheese your way through any situation like you could in some of the originals. You're still going to have to do most of those things in real time, but you can definitely take a look at items, reorganize, and just take a moment to breathe between, exchanging blows with the bad guys. There's also a really, really cool new feature with the blocking system. See, if you hold down the left button on the remote, it depends on what console you're playing, but that's going to be, I believe, L1 or LB, depending on which system you're playing. But if you hold down that left button, you do a block. And if you press it again after successfully blocking, you can kick an enemy away. Now, this game will throw lots of hordes at you, so it's really helpful if you get swamped to just be able to kick enemies back, swap weapons, and then get some distance and pop a couple shots off. That was one of the pretty difficult things about RE7, is if you were getting swamped, there was really no way to stop enemies from just locking you in a corner and just hammering on you with hits. But now, you can kick enemies away, swap weapons, get a reload in, and pop off a few shots. It's honestly really, really helpful. And trust me, they throw enemies at you wow, that sentence didn't come out. They throw enemies at you in this game. Seriously. In RE7, one of the complaints was that there were not a lot of variety in enemies, but there are quite a few in this game. Quite a few. Even some rare enemies that are optional encounters that you can get some sweet bonuses from fighting. So you will not be worried about the lack of enemies. And there's actually a variety of gameplay experiences too. There will be times when gameplay will switch up suddenly and it leaves you feeling pretty afraid because you don't know what's going to happen next, but you'll get used to playing one way and then, oh no, I got to play a different way now. I can't really go into any spoilers there, but it's not annoying, don't worry. Sometimes games are like, oh, I'm going to take all your items away now, hope you have fun. And you're like, no, please, no, I hate this. But this game actually manages to do some interesting things that don't feel too annoying and don't last too long so you can get back to the main gameplay loop. Now, the characters in this game are fantastic. I'm enjoying all of them so far. They're all really well written. There's a variety of them. And you never get like, oh, this guy is like crazy and then everybody else is just going to be crazy. No, there's like a variety. There's people that are just like crazy, and then there's insecure people, and then there's just intense people, and there's all kinds of different characters. It's a lot of fun to fight all the different bosses with their different personalities, and you'll have a really good time with that. The puzzles are actually a step up from 7, I would say, and definitely a step up from the non-existent puzzles of 5 and 6, and even 3 Remake. There's barely any puzzles, so it feels like a return to form for the series to have some great, great puzzles. Now let's talk about graphics and performance. I'm actually playing this on the Xbox One S, so I'm playing it on one of the oldest systems it's available on, and it runs great. There's some definite pop-in and texture loading and whatnot. And every once in a while, when you're moving from one huge set piece to another, you have a little bit of a loading screen. I know it's not that way on PS5 and Xbox One S, and hopefully, or Xbox One X as well, and hopefully not on PC if you have a good build. But when I'm playing it on, it runs really well. So I can only imagine that it would run even better on those newer systems. Not to mention, I bet it is absolutely beautiful, because even coming through at 900p on my Xbox One S, it is a beautiful game. Absolutely beautiful. There's just so much work that's gone into crafting a gorgeous, snow-covered, medieval-themed world, and it is phenomenal. I just can't get enough of it. Seriously, this is one of those games where when I'm not playing it, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh, I just want to play that. It's so pretty, and there's all these places I haven't been able to unlock yet. I want to figure out how to get in there. It's just so enticing. So I definitely recommend this one, and we'll be giving it our official review next week. But in the meantime, those are some of my thoughts on the game. I am enjoying it a lot. And one thing that I will say, if I had to talk about the weakest element so far, I would say music. Music is great. There haven't been any standout tracks for me. And I would say that the remake of RE2 and the RE7 both had some pretty good soundtracks. And every game I've played in the series recently has had at least one standout track to me. Let's see. RE3. The save room, of course, and the streets of Raccoon City. The themes for those were phenomenal. RE2 had the great remix of the police station main hall. And of course, just like the credits music even. RE7 had the incredible save room theme and the incredible main theme. There hasn't been a lot that I've noticed in RE8, and I have been playing it with headset so I can really soak everything in. But I will say the sound design is fantastic. So as far as sound effects go, you will feel really immersed. I'm not saying it's not super immersive or anything. It's immersive. There's just not a lot of music there if you're not a huge fan of it. I'd say it went kind of the similar approach with Breath of the Wild, where there's sort of like in between little pops of music that are like, oh, that's nice, but then just a lot of ambient noise. So it just depends on your preference. I will say though, compared to the music of the series in the past, it's definitely not as strong. But that is super opinionated, so take it or leave it. Just that's the facts. Now, sorry, I went off on a tangent there about the music, but I was going to wrap the video up. I was just going to say, great game so far. Really enjoying it. Can't wait to finish it and give you my full thoughts on it. And in the meantime, yeah, super recommend. Definitely pick it up. And if you've played it or you're planning on playing it, tell us what you think so far in the comments below, because I am really, really excited to talk about this one with you guys. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure and subscribe and like the video just to help us out, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.